All right, everybody. Now we are going to start on the front side of page 3, and I'm going to use this piece of paper that looks like a fuzzy pink blankie for the base of the page. And on this one, I'm going to do a 5-piece vertical waterfall and then 2 flaps that fold in from the sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is start cutting the solid color papers. And I'm going to use the purple or the lavender shade for the side flaps, and then this pretty teal color for the vertical waterfall pieces. So let me get this album out of the way here. Okay, so I'm going to cut the pages for the flaps first. And those are going to need to be 6 inches in height by 6.5 inches in width, because they're going to have a hinge on them. So I'm going to start with doing the 6 inches here. And since this is a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, I can just go ahead and cut here at 6.5. All right, there's my 2 flap pieces. And you know what? I told you one thing and I did something completely different. All right, here's how it's going to be. We're going to use these 2 pieces for the flaps. And then let me set this aside and let me grab another piece of the lavender. All right, you got to cut me a little slack here. I just got home from work. All right, so we've got our 2 flap pieces cut. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the internal pretty pages for them too. Let's see, and those, I'll need to cut 4 of those. And those will need to be 5.5 inches in height by 4 3/8 inches in width. All right. All right, so 5.5 in height. By 4 3/8 inches in width. This one, I pulled out this sheet because I really love these hot air balloons. And I think I'm going to make that the top flap. So I'm going to cut off my excess, and then I'm going to flip it around and measure the 5.5 inches in height. And then I'm going to flip it this way so it's upside down, because I want the pattern to be on the showing up on the flap, because if I cut it this way, I'll cut the pattern off. So I'm going to flip it upside down and cut it 4 3/8 inches. So it'll cut off a little bit of the cloud, but we still have those cute hot air balloons in there. All right, I'm going to set the flap pages aside, and now I'm going to cut the pieces for the waterfalls. So those I need to cut 4 pieces at 6 inches in width by 4.5 inches in height. So I'm going to cut at 6 first. Okay, and there's the 4 pieces I need in that size. And then I need one at 6 inches in width and 4 inches in height instead of 4.5. So I've got the 6 here. So I'm just going to cut it at 4. All right, and then I'm going to need 9 of the photo mats for inside those. So I've pulled out a bunch of scraps here. And those are going to have to be 5.5 inches in width by 3.5 inches in height. I already know that these pieces are 5.5 because I already measured them. So I just need to cut the height down. Set my scraps aside. I'm going to grab my scoreboard and my bone folder. And I am going to score on the long side 4 of these for the waterfall. And I'm going to score it 1/2 inch. So you're going to flip it so it's vertically, okay? And then score the 1/2 inch on the long side on 4 of those. Oops. Now I'm going to grab my flaps, and so they're 6 by 6.5, so I'm going to score 1/2 inch on, I guess it'd be the long side. Yeah. So I'm going to flip it so it's 6 inches across, okay, on the scoreboard, and then so 6 inches across and then 6.5 inches down, and then I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. And I think these are textured on both sides. Let me peek real quick. Yep. Well, kinda. I guess I'm going to flip it over to the side that is the smoothest, and I'm going to score from the back. Okay. So stick your paper on there so it's 6 inches across and 6.5 down. And score it 1/2 inch. All right, and then I'm going to use my paper punchers. I'm going to use the decorative deep edge punch here for the flaps. And so on the opposite side of the score line, directly across from that, I'm going to use this pretty punch. And then I'm going to grab my corner chomper, and I'm going to grab the lavender paper for the waterfalls. And just on 2 of the corners on the long side, I'm going to punch at a 1/2 inch, a rounded corner at a 1/2 inch setting. Now I'm going to grab the decorative paper for the 2 flaps, and I'm going to round all of those corners. Okay, so now I've got all of the paper punched and cut out for the vertical, or the vertical waterfall. So the next thing I'm going to do, that I'm going to stop the camera for because it's boring, I'm going to tape all these photo mats and stick them down here. Actually, I'll do the taping and then I'll come back on and we'll stick them down here together, and I'll just speed that up. So I'm going to put 2-sided tape on all of these and 2-sided tape on these, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I have all of the photo mats taped up now, so now I'm going to start pulling the tape off the back of the waterfall photo mats and start sticking those down. And now remember, like I said, I want them to be horizontal. So I want to make sure that the score line where the hinge is going to be is at the top. So if you have any paper that needs to go a certain direction, you need to keep that in mind. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and speed the video up and start sticking these down. I'm going to set these aside. Okay, and now for the flaps. I'm going to do a magnet closure for this one, so I've decided that I want the top flap to be from the left, so on the left side, so it opens to the left, okay? So I'm going to do that flap last, but I'm going to use this for the top sheet. And you know what? I'm not sure where the heck I went wrong with my measurements here, but yeah, and of course I did them all the same. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take off about 1/4 inch in the width. It looks like I cut them a little too short for the height. So I'm not gonna recut them. I'm gonna use them as they are. But if you are following my measurement instructions here for these photo mats for the flaps on this page, you'll have to cut them about another 1/2 inch. So sorry about that. I'm gonna leave mine as is because I want to use this sheet and I'm not going to worry about the extra space there, but I am going to cut, let's see, probably, well, just to make sure. All right, I want about 1/4 inch. So I think I'm going to cut it at, I'm going to go with 3 3/4 in width. So let me grab my paper cutter here, and then I'm going to have to retape, obviously. Okay, bummer. Sorry for that little interruption there. Okay, I'm going to do the top flap last because I need to use a magnet. So I'm going to use these 2 pieces for the top flap and these 2 pieces for the bottom flap. So I'm going to pull the tape off these photo mats and then get those down on the teal color paper. And then when I come through and embellish at the end, I'll probably do something on here so it doesn't look like there's so much extra space with the paper. Okay, and I'm going to do the other side. All right, so we have our right flap now. I'm going to fold the hinge there. And then we want to do our left flap. And I am going to do the top sheet first. I'm going to put the top photo mat down first. And now before I put the photo mat down on the other side, I need to put down a magnet. So I want to grab a positive and a negative piece. And since we already know the adhesive is shot on my magnets for whatever reason, I'm going to put down a piece of double-sided tape here. Oh, and this is the stuff that's worthless. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take the tape off of the photo mat and put it down. All right, and there is our left side flap. And so they will go like so. Okay. All right, now I'm going to grab my album here. You know what I should have done? I should have done my magnet in here first. So let's see. That's going to be tricky. All right, we're going to have to do it this way. I'm going to have to line it up first before I glue everything down with the left flap. Okay. And then I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to, okay, I know what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to glue this flap on so it's going to stay there, so it'll stay put. Since it's already got the magnet in there. All right, now I'm going to take my magnet. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to take my magnet and I'm going to drop it wherever it wants to pull, okay? And I am going to take another piece of my good strong double-sided tape. You guys, I'll tell you, I am just not with it this evening. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put all right, so we said that's where it's going to be. I'm going to put the tape right there. Okay. And I'm going to pull the backing off of it. And then I'm going to drop my magnet again on the double-sided tape. All right. Now we're good to go. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, since I already started with the flaps here, I might as well go ahead and do the other flap here. So I'm going to grab the right side, and I am going to run a line of glue on the inside of the hinge. So that's what the flaps are going to look like. Then, let me get this album out of the way again here. Now I'm going to start putting down my waterfall. Oh boy, got some excess glue there. So I'm going to start by folding each piece here, each hinge. And then I'm going to try and line them up so they're kind of centered vertically on the page. So I'm going to run a line of glue on the underside of the hinge this time for the very top piece. I'm going to start with the top. will put the right side flap down first, and then the left side flap with the magnet, and that's what your page is going to look like. And then I am going to go ahead and grab my album again. We're going to stick that whole thing down. Just like that. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and glue it. Actually, I'm gonna use some tape, just like I did the other pages, and then glue around the edges. So there we have the top side of page 3. And then when I come back, we will do the flip side of page 3. That has its own individual design. And then with pages 4, 5, and 6, you're just going to repeat pages 1 through 3. And I am not going to record that because it just seems kind of silly to record the exact same instructions for the last 3 pages when all you're going to do is follow the same thing. Page 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, and then we'll do the B side of page 3 when I come back. All right, I'll catch you in a bit. Okay, now with the flip side of page 3, I'm actually doing this video again and replacing the video that I did for the B side of page 3. This is what it ended up looking like, which it still looks okay, but it's not exactly what I was going for. So I decided that the video was a little bit discombobulated, so I am going to just go ahead and do it again, since the last 3 pages are the exact same as the first 3 pages in the exact same order. So what I am going to do with the last page here is just first I'm going to put this page mat down, and then I am going to use a kind of a trifold sort of photo mat thing that looks like an envelope. I don't know what the official name of it is. But it was a tutorial actually that was done by Papercrafter 45 a few years ago. And I went back and I watched the video again and decided I would just follow her directions pretty much step by step, instead of repeating what I had already done on this page right here. So let's see here. Oh, by the way, I will put the link to her tutorial in the description box below. So the first thing I'm going to do is tape up the back of this page mat here and get that stuck down. So while I'm taping, actually I'm going to pause it while I tape, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to pull the backing off the tape now, and then I'm going to hit the corners with glue. now I'm going to set the album aside and we're going to start constructing the envelope. Okay, here. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to cut a piece of paper that is going to be your choice of paper for the envelope pocket. And we need to cut it at 7 inches by 7 inches. Okay, and this is going to make an envelope pocket that is 5 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches. All right. So now I need to grab my envelope punch board. All right, and we are going to, oops, I'm going to grab the score bone folder out here. All right, let me take a look here. All right, we're going to punch and score at 2 inches, 2 7/8 inches. Okay, so I'm going to line the edge of my paper up here with 2 7/8. I'm going to punch it, and then we're going to score. Okay, and we're going to rotate, and we're going to line our score line up here with this arrow. We're going to punch and score again, and then rotate it to the left again, and line your score line up with that arrow again, which should be 2 7/8 inch. And punch and score, and then rotate one more time to the left and line your score line up with the arrow here, and punch and then score. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip my punch board around here, and I'm going to go ahead and round my corners. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, and then I'm going to start creasing here on my score lines, and I'm going to construct the envelope. I'm going to adhere it together. All right. Well, you can put it together however you want, but I usually go put the sides in first, and then the bottom flap up last. And then I'm gonna put some tape here on it, on the edge of the bottom flap. I don't want to go all the way to the top because then you'll end up gluing part of your envelope together. We don't want to do that. So you just want to go part of the way up, stop probably about maybe 1.5 inches from the top here, the top peak. Okay, and then pull your tape backing off and pop your envelope together. All right, now I'm going to grab my paper cutter, and I am going to cut the top flap off. Okay, make sure you line it up so you're not cutting into your envelope at all. So you probably will want to, what you'll probably want to do is put your score line here for the top flap just a little bit below the cut line, so you don't accidentally slice off part of your envelope. Okay, so now we've got the envelope pocket here, and we've got the flap that we just cut off. All right, so next thing we need to do is we need to take another piece of paper, your choice of color, that is going to serve as the the trifold for your photo mats. And we need to cut that piece of paper at, let me look here, all right, 5 1/8 inch, okay, in width. And I'm going to mark this because my paper cutter stinks. Let me grab a pencil. So 5 1/8 inches in width by 9 7/8 inches in height. Okay, so, oops, 9 7/8. Okay, and then I'm going to set my paper cutter aside, and I'm going to grab my scoreboard again. And we need to score this in 3 places. We need to put it on your scoreboard with the long edge at the top, okay? And the first score line we want is a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put a 1/2 inch score line first, okay? And then the next score line is, let's see, I wrote this down. I want to make sure I get it right here. I don't want to have to start over with this. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, so a 1/2 inch, 3 3/4, okay, and then 6 7/8. So 6 7/8. All right, so 1/2 inch, 3 3/4, and 6 7/8 is where you want your score lines to be. All right, and I'm going to get my scoreboard out of the way here. All right, now the first thing that I want to do before I adhere anything is at the 1/2 inch score line where this hinges, I need to taper the corners, and you need to do a pretty deep taper here. Okay, so cut at a pretty good angle. All right, you want to do that on both sides, both corners at that end, I should say, on your hinge. All right. Okay, now I want to go ahead and crease my 1/2 inch hinge here. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to adhere this flap to the hinge, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the edge of your flap and you're going to butt it up against the inside, okay, the underside of your hinge. So it's going to, what we're going to do is we're going to glue it down. We're going to glue the hinge down on top of the edge of the flap, okay? So I'm just going to grab some glue and do that. You can do it with tape too. You know me though, I like the glue because then I can reposition it without ripping the paper, because I'm terrible about getting stuff down straight. Okay, so I have glue now on the underside of my hinge. I'm taking my flap, and you want, if it's a single-sided pattern, then you want the pattern side to be facing up, okay, because that's going to be your flap, and then when we stick it in the envelope, this will be the top side that will be showing, okay, and you want to center it there, right underneath your hinge, okay. Okay. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut another piece of paper and use my punch board again, because I'm going to put a mat on the top of this, and I think I'm going to do 2 of them because the back side is white here. I don't want it to be just plain white, so I'm gonna do 2 of those mats, 1 for each side. I'm going to wipe up my excess glue here. All right, set that aside, set my envelope aside. Okay, I'm going to grab my paper cutter again. And I like this polka dot pattern with the teal polka dots on it. So I need to cut 2 pieces of paper at 4 by 4. Okay. right, and grab my envelope punch board again. All right, now what you do is you take your 4x4 piece of paper and you stick it in your scoreboard here, or your punch board, and you line it up at 4 inches, okay? Now it's going to be at the very end, okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to punch a little piece out of the corner so that it matches up with the flap on your envelope, on your photo mat. So you punch it at 4 inches. You don't have to score anything, okay? And then this is what it looks like, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to punch again at the corner diagonally across from the one you just did. So we actually have to flip the paper over here, flip it upside down, or good side down, I should say, and then punch at 4 inches again. Okay? And then what we want to do is we want to round the corner. This is going to be the good side with the rounded edges here. So we want to round that corner. And I need to do 2 of those. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line it up at 4 inches, punch, and then flip it over and do the diagonal corner. Line it up at 4 and punch. Okay, then I'm going to round the corner again. Okay, now I need to grab my cutting board again, and we're going to line it up diagonally here. But the way you get a pretty nice straight cut is where these points are, where we punched. You try and hold it up a little bit. These points here, the pointy edges, you're going to line each one of those points up with your cutting line. Okay? And then you're going to make a cut. Discard this piece unless you think you need it for something else. All right? I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Line up my points on the cut line. And cut it. Get rid of the excess piece there. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do then is this piece is going to go right on top of that. So I've got one on the outside there, and then I'm also going to put one on the inside. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tape on these 2 pieces, all right? And I'm also going to pick out the paper that I want for my photo mats, and I will be right back. Okay, I have my 2 flap mats taped up here. So we're going to go ahead and take the tape backing off and stick those down. I'm going to fold here on my score lines, fold up from the bottom and then up again, and then your flap comes down like that. And what did I do with my envelope? All right, and then it's just going to go in here. Maybe. Okay. Ooh, that's going to be a tight squeeze, especially when I get photo mats on there. I don't know if this paper is too thick. There we go. And it'll look like that. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I pulled out some scrap paper here, and I need to cut 6 photo mats. for 3 on the front, 3 on the back, okay? And I need to cut those at 2 3/4 in height by 4 7/8 inches in width. And if I measured correctly, that'll give us just a tiny bit of a margin around each one of the photo mats. So we'll see what we end up with here. Okay, so 4 7/8 in width by 2 3/4 in height. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We got about a little, it looks like about 1/8 of an inch around each one. And you know, I thought about whether or not I was going to round the corners of the photo mats, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to leave them with a straight edge. Okay, so I'm going to cut 5 more of these. Let's see, I will just go ahead and do that on camera, and I'll just speed it up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape these up and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got all my photo mats cut and I've got them lined up the way that I want to put them on the paper here. So I'm going to go ahead and start slapping them down here. Start folding it up, and I'm gonna hit my creases here because I don't know, it was kind of a tight squeeze so in that envelope, so hopefully we'll still be able to get it in there. Let me grab my envelope. The paper cardstock I'm using is pretty thick, so I don't know, we'll see. This might be an epic fail. Come on. Success. It's kind of a tight squeeze, I don't know. All right. We're going to go with it. Gotta pull it out just a little bit so I can close the flap still. I put it down in there a little bit too far. Come on. Okay. All right, that's not too bad. Let me grab my album. I am just gonna adhere it right to the center there, and then when I go through and embellish it, I'll probably put a little something here to tuck that flap under. Okay, so let me go ahead and get some tape on the back here. Stand up. And I'm just going to stick it down right in the middle there. Okay. All right. And that is the construction of our last page. Yay! So, I'll just flip through it here and show you what all, show you what all we've done. Pocket here. We've got this and these flaps and pocket. And this, I'm not going to undo this. It's a big multi-fold. And this is the one that I filmed, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. So I'm going to kind of dress it up a little bit, and I'm still going to leave it in here because I like this size. I think what I might do is just make some more of those flap mats, or one more at least for the inside here to cover up that hinge. In the pocket. And another one of these fold outs with a waterfall in there. And here, and then we're just repeating here. The first three and then the second three are all the same. They're exactly the same. Well, except for the pocket that I just showed you. And another multi-fold. And this with a waterfall again. And then the one we just did. So the next step is going to be to do 6 big photo mats to slide in the top here. So I am going to go get the supplies ready that I need for that. And that'll be the next step.